said when the day came, screams was all I hear. He said when that day would come, I'd know the sound of fear. And now you ask forgiveness, you ask for my respect.
And we're back. We're the Dudes of Horror. I'm Toots.
Worm Boy.
And Damien.
All right, and today we're going to review a movie that came out back in 95, Demon Knight. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight. This came out around the time where the popularity of the series was really at its peak. And basically what the story's about, what the movie's about, is about this Demon Knight played by William Sadler that basically he's been living a couple of lifetimes. Well, since he became a collector back like in 1917, 1918 in World War One.
Or he became a Demon Knight.
Or a Demon Knight, yeah.
Yeah, the collector was what's his name?
Yeah, the collector was Billy Zane.
Billy Zane.
Yeah. So basically, this collector is pursuing this Demon Knight in order to collect a key. Basically, this key to the cosmos, and there's 7 keys in all. And based on the story, they already collected 6, so that's the last one. The last one's on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the movie is William Sadler's character Frank is trying to find the next Demon Knight, and he finds it, and he finds her, played by Jada Pinkett, in this like seedy, hotel. So I remember watching this movie back in '95 when it first came out in theaters.
Wow.
I remember watching it back then. I know, Damien, you mentioned that you saw it.
So
at
you were like what, like 15?
I was like 14.
I was like 12 or 13. I saw it like in a theater that isn't there anymore.
Yeah,
like
and
in
I didn't see this one, so I was probably at the time maybe 10.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it. So like my comments are gonna be more in relation to when I saw it, which was yesterday.
You don't have nostalgia with the movie?
No, I don't. So.
No, but like what I was telling you, Worm Boy, like right before we started rolling, like what I really like about this movie is the lore of the movie. Like, would you say to us like the mythos?
Yeah, I like the whole mythos
like,
behind it.
I like how it's like this. It's that classic story of like the struggle between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was telling Worm Boy, like what I like about this movie is it's not like this huge, thunder and lightning epic showdown between good and evil. Like, it's like the collector and the demons are like policing pretty much, like they're the police. He's tracking down Breaker, William Sadler's character, the Demon Knight, who's basically just been on the run for like since World War One, and now it's the mid '90s, and I just like how, like, I love that aspect of the movie, how the battle between good and evil is like this in this small town, like in this abandoned church that became like this little seedy motel, like
yeah.
And the hero, like the Demon Knight, is basically like this drifter that's having to like steal cars and rob people to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I love that aspect of the movie, how this battle between good and evil has been happening for like hundreds of thousands of years, like right under our noses, and it's just been passed down from, as you get to know the lore more and more, it's just been passed down from century to century to like different demon knights that are having to live like this really lonely life, like of like running from the collectors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And part of the, like, since I didn't see it when I was growing up, but like I thought it was gonna start with the first scene, because I didn't know the Crypt Keeper came out. I didn't know any of that stuff. But like it was funny, like the way it started. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Because, you know, he comes out and he's like, cut. Like,
Yeah.
you did it wrong. You did it all wrong. It's like the actor's like, who the fuck is this?
John
Crypt
Larroquette,
Keeper?
yeah.
He's like, what the hell?
But that goes back to what you were talking about, right? Like that little skit at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like mocking how cheesy Tales from the Crypt had become.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Because
the big tits girl that just killed
Yeah.
her rich husband, you're assuming, and to
Just to make that the
get his
money.
money and run
Yeah.
off with some flame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I mentioned before we started recording, that you know, when the series first came out, like, they really paid attention to the characters, the story, all the sex and violence was like secondary. It was just like the icing on the cake. And then by the time it got to like season 6 or so, a little bit of season 5, but mainly into season 6 and especially 7, it started getting into actually, I'll retract that. 6 especially. It was really just there's sex and violence, you know, like that. Like the frosting became the majority of the cake, as opposed to just the characters. And you know, it's like, as long as we have the twist, we have the bare bones story, because William M. Gaines, the creator.
See, I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
it's good that you're mentioning that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
the creator of the or I guess the main creator of the
Comics.
comic book, when they first did the series, the stipulation was, as long as it follows the story in the comic book, like you can modernize it however you want, you can change the names or whatever, as long as it follows the same story. You know, and then I noticed, especially collecting the comics and stuff, that once it got into the later seasons, like, as long as they just had the bare bones minimum of the story, everything else was like tits and ass.
Because it was probably just making money. Like
Yeah, because
a cash cow kind of thing.
then you know, you started having celebrities come out, and then you started having, you know, like, oh, let's see what else they can do, and let's see how
So it became basically like a gimmick show.
yeah,
Yeah.
It became almost like a parody of itself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So that's why at the beginning of Demon Knight, they kind of play all those tropes,
Yeah.
you know.
But
which,
then I liked that. I thought it was gonna be like that throughout the movie, where he was gonna come out, since I hadn't seen it before, and I
Mhm.
was just like, you know, that would have fucked up the movie.
yeah,
It's good
yeah.
that it came out at the very end again, you know, to finish it off. But the movie was serious, you know. It wasn't like, oh, it's funny. Like, it had a good story, and the way it started, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I just noticed 2 cars, and then obviously the collector was following the Demon Knight, and I was just like, I didn't know at that time.
And I like how at the beginning William Sadler is portrayed as the criminal, like
Yeah.
which I guess technically he is. I mean,
Mhm.
he's stealing cars and he has that big wad of money. Like, you're assuming like he robs people. Like, he has to do that though. Like, and then you find out that he's actually defending like the light per se, like, from these demons, and he's having to do these things. Like,
Yeah.
and I also like the structure of the movie, how it's a siege movie. I
Yeah.
love movies like that. And then this one is like a supernatural siege movie, a horror movie. So I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
Yeah, I like how basically in the main story you have this Demon Knight, this collector, and just all these people in between that just
Mhm.
happen to be in the way.
Yeah.
That were living their lives, you know, Uncle Willie and
Uncle Willie's a
Cordelia.
town drunk, I would call him. He's always drinking.
Yeah.
Cordelia's the whore.
and it's an ensemble cast. There's
Yeah.
like CC Pounder and
Roach.
Dick Miller. The dude that plays the pathetic postman, the guy that
Wally,
voiced-
Charles Fleischer.
There you go.
Oh
Charles
yeah,
Fleischer.
Wally. And then it was funny at the end, or towards the end, like, I was like, what the hell? He had guns and he had grenades, and
Because he was planning
he was
to
stealing.
He
He
was
was planning to like go all postal.
Yeah,
on the
they-
post office.
yeah.
But he didn't have any bullets.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
They were like, shit, there's no bullets.
Yeah, there's no bullets, but there was grenades.
But I love what we've said before, like, about vampire movies. I love like the trappings that they have in this movie too. Like,
Mhm.
like you find out that when William Sadler has the big like exposition scene where he
Mhm.
explains to them exactly
Yeah.
what because the whole night it's mainly Roach.
Yeah.
The Thomas Hayden Church character is like we deserve to know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine, you want to know? I'll tell you.
and he actually tells him.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome.
But then you find out that the key is actually full of like past demon knights' blood, and some of it is actually the blood of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he keeps on having flashbacks throughout
was-
the movie
The guy was the first demon knight, the one that fills up the key with
when they were in
Oh,
the war.
Sirac? Yeah.
the one that fills up the key with Jesus' blood.
Yeah, the thief, yeah.
Okay, and he's a thief. Like it's like so the hero.
And Jada Pinkett's character was a thief, and
A
she's
thief.
on.
Yeah.
So that's why they chose her.
Yeah, and she's doing like.
But I
community
love the
ser-
shit
community
like
service.
I love the shit like that.
That
like
makes sense.
Like in
Yeah.
horror movies, like the trappings,
Mhm.
like how William Sadler can create barriers by dumping out a little bit of
yeah.
blood, and the demons can't cross the barrier.
Yeah, they'll
Like-
burn or they'll die.
And it's
Yeah.
just like a vampire not being able to enter your house unless
Mhm.
unless they are invited. Like I love shit like that in horror movies.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not to say that like Jada Pinkett's character happened to get the key, got the key because she was a thief. It was just
meant
No,
to
she
be
was
there.
Yeah, it w-
expected and she was meant to be.
the
She's the
powers that
chosen
be.
one.
Yeah, she was the chosen
No,
one.
but I just mean like they're always like
They connect with everything,
Mhm.
right? That's what I kind of got from the
Yeah.
movie. Like they don't just like shed around and be like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But no, they actually, you can put the pieces together.
Yeah, and I like the fact that when they were talking about the mythos, instead of just having the exposition dump, where Breaker's like, okay, you wanna know, in the beginning God created heaven and earth,
Yeah.
and then goes into Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
and then but actually they kind of pepper in this mythos before, like you just get flashbacks,
Yeah.
where you have Christ being crucified, and then the thief
The
filling
blood.
up, Sirac filling up the key, and then you see William Sadler in World War One,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's where
Yeah,
so
that's where he became the.
But I like it because doesn't Sirac see the Christ's blood drip on one of the demons?
Yeah.
And it burns him.
And it burns him.
He has like an epiphany, and then so he fills up the key, like, and that's how it all started.
yeah.
And I love shit. Like this movie's filled with like everything that I love about horror movies and the structure of it, like the fact that it's a siege movie.
Yeah, ironically enough, Bordello blood that gets into vampires messes all that up.
I haven't seen that one.
All right,
Oh man.
we'll roast that one day.
Oh,
I still want to roast
so
that
it's
one
it's
day.
a roast kind of movie.
It's a roast
I
kind of
do
movie.
not recommend that one, Wormboy.
Okay,
It's that one.
well, if we ever roast it, I'll have to
Yeah,
forcefully watch it.
If I manage to get you guys to roast it, like you're gonna have to see it.
Well,
Like
yeah.
the-
But you're just gonna have to brace
Have
yourself.
you seen it?
Oh, I have seen it since I was a kid. But the documentary that the filmmakers made about it, it starts like with them saying something like this. Like I'm paraphrasing, but it starts with them saying something like, "This is how you don't make a movie." Just to give you an idea.
Okay,
Like-
so it sucks.
And I like the whole. We were talking about it earlier, but like the whole ensemble cast of Demon Knight,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like Thomas Hayden Church playing like the
The
asshole.
Yeah,
What's her name? Brenda Backy,
Brenda Backy,
the
Cordelia, the
hooker,
whore.
The hooker, prostitute.
Yeah,
and then the guy, Charles Fleischer. You said?
yeah,
The guy that voiced Roger Rabbit,
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
he's the doctor in A Nightmare on Elm Street
yeah.
Oh, shit.
when they take
He's-
Nancy to the.
He's
to
one of the sleep doctors.
I didn't know that. Wow.
I didn't know that either. I after I saw this movie as an adult, and then I saw Nightmare on Elm Street again as
Mhm.
an adult, I was like, hey, it's that dude from Demon Knight. Like I didn't know that when I was a kid. Like I didn't know who he was.
Well, one of the things I really enjoyed was the music. Like I know I
Yeah, I
said
love
that
the
before in
soundtrack.
other podcasts, but the music had started like with, if I'm not correct, I mean, it
Filter.
was with Filter,
Mhm.
and then I remember that those years I used to listen to the song, but I had never seen the movie, so I can see why they used it, and it makes sense,
Yeah, and then they started using the
Megadeth
yeah
came out also, and Pantera,
Ministry.
Ministry,
Gravediggers.
Great
This
Big.
is one of those movies from the 90s that has like a seriously underrated soundtrack.
Rollins
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
Henry
during the
Rollins.
time when the soundtracks were the shit for movies,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, whatever.
Like they actually put a lot more money. Well, not a lot more. I'm just saying they invested in a soundtrack as well as just the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, and another thing I really liked about the movie was the special effects.
Yeah, me too.
Because just like the series, like the only time they really use anything like computer generated was just like when Crypt Keeper's walking, when you actually see him walk at the beginning.
Mhm.
Like, you call that acting? Like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do call it acting. And like they use a little bit of like CG there, even though it's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
But it was 1995. But the practical effects themselves, the demons, the makeup, I would just I can't imagine like the stunt guys that were like the demons, like what they had to like put on.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of layers.
Yeah, it looked a lot of appliances that they had to put on.
Yeah.
And but the other effects, like like when they get shot in the eyes and stuff, and you see like that looks cool.
See, and I like that too. Like, I like how it's like the zombie movies. You gotta shoot them in the head.
Yeah.
Like in this, you can't stab them. You can't shoot them in the body. Like, the only way to stop the demons is to shoot them in the eyes. And William Sadler has that line: "You have to free their tortured souls."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of lore and mythos. Like, and William Sadler. Turns out he's not the hero of the movie. Like, you're thinking, okay, yeah, obviously this guy's the hero of the movie, but he is the guy that's been around for like decades and decades, like almost a century of running from the Collector and battling demons. So he's the expert, but he turns out to not be the hero. Like, at the end of the movie, the hero's Jada Pinkett,
Yeah.
Pre-Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with zombies, like it reminded me of me when I first started playing Black Ops Zombies, the first one that ever came out.
Oh, with the glowing eyes and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, and also because of the house or the hotel where they were stationed. Like, it reminded me of like you have to put stuff on the windows or on the doors so that they don't come in. So like the blood, for example, was one of them, and you have to shoot them in the head to get the quick kill.
See,
So I was just like, oh, that was pretty cool.
and that's the stuff. That's the kind of shit that I love in horror movies or horror shows. Like, I love stuff like that. Like,
And the kills were pretty brutal. Not just with the demons, but not so much for me the demons, but it was more with like what's her name, Cordelia, the way that she went, and what's his name, the Uncle Willie.
Uncle
how he
Willie.
chops off his
Oh, and the
head.
kid. Remember
Oh,
the kid?
kid
also?
was horrible.
Yeah.
she
That
kicks
was-
him through the seal, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just like the shot of his shoe just landing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like with this movie, like if I would have just seen it today without having seen it before, like I could like, oh, it's a good movie. It's cheesy, but it's one of those where like, oh, okay, like I can understand where you're coming from. Where I'm
Yeah, because I didn't see it back then, so
But
it's cheesy.
but it's still a good
it's-
story.
It's a good movie though.
It's still a good movie. It's just like, it's cheesy.
no, I think I still would probably like this movie even if I had only seen it as an adult. Like, I love movies like this.
Oh no, I would still like it also. It's just, but I could understand if you were to watch it without having seen it when it first came out.
I thought I wasn't gonna like it, to be honest, but then I was like, it's going well so far, and I was actually invested in what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, for
I
me,
wanted to know what the hell the key meant, and finally found out, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, for me, like it has a good story, it has good characters, good special effects, good music, and then but for me, like the nostalgia also kind of is like the frosting on there.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the fact that I saw it when it came out, but also like the series itself.
But something cool about what you were talking about, the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
There's something cool that Ernest Dickerson and all the people that were behind the production talk about is he didn't want to, like, the whole movie takes place at night, but Ernest Dickerson didn't want to put the whole production team and everybody through like 40, 50 nights of like nothing but night shoots. So they actually built the interiors and the exteriors and like the immediate landscape around the hotel. They built it all inside an airplane hangar.
Oh shit!
Oh, that's cool.
So they could control the
The
darkness,
darkness.
but so that way they could work during the day.
Yeah.
But I think it's William Sadler that talks about it in the Shout Factory Blu-ray.
That's awesome.
That they started having a problem though because pigeons were nesting like in the rafters in the in the hangar, so they kept on.
Yeah.
So they were actually having to like.
Yeah.
They were actually having to like. No, like they were firing. They were firing
Like blanks.
flare guns and stuff to get all the pigeons to shut up. but William Sadler's like joking about it. He's like, so then we'd have like 10 minutes to get the next shot before the
Birds
pigeons
came back.
before the pigeons built back up to. Like, this is,
I don't know that. Wow.
and there was one I liked how Ernest Dickerson, the director, said that at the time, and this wasn't that long ago. This was like the mid '90s. He said that it was rare even then to have an African American woman as the hero, like the heroine of the movie.
Yeah.
And I really like something that he said about. I think he said something like somebody asked him what happened to Jada Pinkett's character after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's her character's name in the movie? I know.
What was it?
Forgot. It was like a.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm
It was
trying
a
to.
one name thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Geraldine or
Geraldine.
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 Because
Yeah.
you see Pounders like constantly Geraldine.
Yeah. Go clean that stove.
Yeah,
first,
Geraldine.
And
But,
go send this man to his room.
I love that scene at the end where she defeats the collector
Mm-hmm.
when she does it by putting the blood in her mouth
Yeah.
and spitting it in his face. And I love that scene at the very end of the movie where she has the key around her neck and she's getting on the bus to take off, and the new collector shows up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and she puts the blood on the door of the bus.
And he's
So he
like, I'll
can't
take
follow.
the next one.
And Ernest Dickerson, I think he's saying that somebody asked him, like at a convention or something, like what happened to Geraldine's character. And I really like what he said. He said, well, for all I know, she's still out there.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because even Breaker said there's like
I see a franchise in this movie.
yeah, like even Breaker said that it was like, well, it can take one lifetime, it could take several, because if he was already like in his 40s or something fighting World War One,
Yeah.
so he's already like over 100 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
I like how he has that line, like before you know all the lore and everything, he has that line where he says, where I think it's Geraldine asks him, like, who are you? And he says, I'm just an old man who's running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the understatement of the movie. like once you find out what he actually means, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
fighting for so long. He looks so fucking tired already. But he's like a really good shot, and because of his experience, and he knows like it doesn't matter where you go, they'll find you, and they still want to go down through the goddamn basement. Or
and
if they want to break the wall, and they try to go through there, and look what happens.
and I'm not surprised that he has all that money because it's like Highlander, living
Yeah.
several lifetimes or maybe a couple of lifetimes. Like you're just gonna be collecting stuff, or
Yeah.
in this case on the run, but you're just gonna be like having all this, basically accruing all this wealth.
Yeah.
Now I want to buy the soundtrack, One Boy.
You should. It's a good soundtrack.
I remember my older brother or a friend of his had the soundtrack, and I would listen to it all the time when I was younger. And even once in a while at work, I'll put it on, like through YouTube or something on my phone.
Yeah. I mean, the movie itself for me was really good. It didn't disappoint me. It kept me wanting to see what happened, and actually, I wanted to see like a sequel or something else afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I wouldn't mind this movie being remade either. So they
Yeah,
can
like-
start a franchise.
I'm like, hey, sequel talk with Jada Pinkett Smith. Like,
Yeah.
she
That would
come
be
back,
still
come back
alive.
as Geraldine.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. Who would be the next Demon Knight? Who would be the next like collector?
Demon Knight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like how Billy Zane describes his character of the collector. That he says my character was basically like Bugs Bunny from hell. Like he could just pull anything out of the ether,
Mhm.
like a cartoon character,
Yeah.
or like when he's like spits up the sponge, or
Mhm.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
like he's like a cartoon, but he's like from hell.
Yeah.
Like he's like a magician from hell.
Yeah. I also like the fact that whenever it came to scenes like that, like with CCH Pounder's character, what was it, Irene? Like she loses an arm, and then at some point like he comes in like, oh,
I'll
poached
prepare food.
poached appendage. Yeah, like all you need to do is, like give in, and then you'll get your arm back. Like
And it looked really good.
okay.
No, the food.
But
Oh, the
no,
food-
but
oh,
that,
okay.
that goes. That's another interesting aspect of the way that how he like tempts all the people that are weak-minded that get like Cordelia is the first one. Like he goes for their weakness. Like
Mhm.
he tells like he's messing with Cordelia's mind. Like you want to feel like genuine love, not just like dickheads like Roach that pay for it and think they can
Yeah.
treat you like shit. And he like messes with her mind because he can't physically walk through the barriers that Breaker set up.
Yeah.
So he has to like mind fuck the people inside.
Yeah. Like
That's a
at
good
least.
way. That's a good way of putting it. Mindfuck.
Yeah, but like.
And then it goes to the end of the movie. It like when William Sadler's dying, when Breaker's dying,
Mhm.
and he has that really good line with Geraldine,
Mm-hmm.
where she's kind of like, of course, like anybody naturally would. She's kind of like
I don't know what to do.
No, like she's like apprehensive. Like she knows he just explained to her like you're the next. Like I came here for you. Like you're the next. You're the next Demon Knight.
Demon Knight.
That's why he didn't stab her.
But she's apprehensive, and then he says, she says like I don't know if I'm the right person for this, and then he says he tried to tempt you, didn't he? And she's like, yeah, and then he says you're exactly the right person for this.
Because it didn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
With
because
her.
she was the only one that didn't like give in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the fact that throughout the movie, when Billy Zane, like when the Collector, tries to do a shtick and tries to tempt people and basically entice them into letting the demons in, and him, that it does get a bit not zany, but it gets like they don't take themselves too seriously. But once it comes into the mythos and it comes into the actual enticing itself, like they actually take those parts seriously.
Like he gets
Yeah.
dark, he gets really
Yeah.
sinister.
Yeah.
Like at first he's kind of like making this
Very
like
nice.
Bugs Bunny. He's making like this comedic thing of it, but once it comes down to actually like, getting the person, like baiting him in, then he gets real dark and sinister.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to talk about that. We were talking about it before we were rolling the Dick Miller,
Which
The-
one? The kill?
Uncle Willie, the
Oh,
way that
yeah,
the
Uncle
way he,
Willie.
Oh yeah.
the way he baits him in.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And and his facial expressions, like
Yeah.
he's like, I know I shouldn't be drinking this, but I'm still gonna drink it anyway.
Yeah,
And then he takes another. Have another.
and the fact that and the fact that only he can see all this happening.
And the kid is
and
just like, what the hell?
like, are you all right, Uncle Willie? Yeah.
And he's just like in a whole another world with all these naked women and
And
booze.
it's the obligatory titties and Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that you were
but
talking about, Wormwood.
And then they show up and they end up chopping his head. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and then what do you call it? No, but I like the fact that like anytime they had to have like nudity or anything like that, it was because the story like it could
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it called into like it wasn't just like by that point in the series
It
where
wasn't just
let's
gr-
just have it in there just
No,
it wasn't
it was-
gratuitous.
yeah, it wasn't
It was
gratuitous.
sprinkled in there.
Yeah, it was sprinkled in
It
there.
served a purpose. Like
Yeah, and even the violence was like they used the violence when they had to. It wasn't let's just have a fight scene because for the sake of just having a fight scene. It wasn't gratuitous.
I think that's why I liked it. They didn't force anything on you.
Yeah,
They took their time with it.
it wasn't like Jason X. Oh, let's just have a sex scene because Jason.
Roach always reminded me of Scud from Blade 2 when he
Mm.
God.
the guy the Norman Reedus, the guy from The
Oh.
Walking
Oh yeah,
Dead,
yeah.
when he has that line when he reveals that he was
A familiar.
a familiar for the
Yeah.
vampires.
Mm.
How he says like when darkness takes over, I'd rather be a pet. And Thomas Hayden Church Roach character kind of had like the same mentality. That's why he
Mhm.
steals the key from
Yeah.
like, and it's like after Breaker explains like this really really heavy shit that's going down. Like I think it's good. It's interesting that the Roach character is still there because there's actually people like that when something like that is thrown in their face, like you just can't reach some people. Like they're still just looking out for number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He seemed like he was a narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even with all that, it's like I don't care. I just want out. Like I just want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had like kind of like the same mentality
Mhm.
as Scud. He's like, I'd rather be a pet when the darkness takes over. Like I'm not gonna try to fight it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like this movie's awesome, dude. Like if I graded this movie, I would probably give this movie like, I'll say like an A minus.
Yeah.
I think it's that good.
I would give it a B.
I would give it I would give it an A minus. I think what kind of puts it into the A minus for me is not just the fact that like I think it's a really good movie and like I said and all the stuff that I like about it, but also the fact that because of that nostalgia factor and the fact that it is stemming from a series that's like near and dear to my heart. Yeah. It's like for me it's I'm a little biased that way.
We actually did a podcast on that, so
Oh yeah, so
on the collection, remember?
yeah.
Oh, it was a video.
Oh yeah, the video of all your comic book collection and remember?
Toots got to geek out with his Tales from the Crypt.
Oh yeah, and I
You
remember
got to be Uncle Willie.
I remember back in high school there was somebody in the band that was like in the high school band that was like, oh yeah, it's based on one of the comic books like Demonite, and I'm like, no, it's not. And he's like, yeah, it is because it had like the pages and shit. And I'm like, no, like it's its own story. It's not based on. It's a movie. It's not based on any comic book. Like I should know. Like it's not based on any particular story. Like in the comics.
I like how when they're interviewing Ernest Dickerson and all the actors, how they're all like lamenting, not lamenting, but they're all like talking about how in their careers this movie, like they never expected this to become like the cult classic that it's become.
Mm-hmm.
They were all like thinking like, oh, this is just gonna be like some late night, horror movie.
B movie flick.
It's a good movie.
Flick, yeah.
I think they need to either, like I said again, like remake it or finish.
I don't know, like Billy Zane always says, like Billy Zane is always like, I've heard from many people like that this movie, like in my whole career, like this is the movie that they think of, like they think of me as the collector, like, and he was like, I never would have expected that, like,
Yeah.
But William Sadler, dude, I just dig what like Death from Bill and Ted, like
yeah,
the
the
man
man
who's dead, right?
Yeah, he plays the character there.
From
like,
episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
and he's actually like a lot of people don't remember because of Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
He's actually the president in the Marvel universe.
it's been a while since I've seen Iron Man 3.
Really?
Yeah, William Sadler plays the
Oh yeah. Yeah.
in Iron Man. I think he dies in the movie though. I can't remember,
Yeah.
But he comes out in Tales from the Crypt twice. Like and the Man Who Is Death. He's like the Niles Talbot. He's the main character, and then he actually comes out as Death in
Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah, from Bill and Ted's Bogus. He actually plays that character,
and he's Colonel Stewart in Die Hard 2.
Yeah,
I'm always like, I think he's cool. Like I think he's a good character actor.
Yeah.
Like, and then he plays like the small town mechanic in The Mist. Like he bounces around.
and
like,
the Green Mile. He comes on the Green Mile.
Like all of Frank Darabont's movies. The Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank, yeah.
Haywood.
Yeah.
I love that character.
Yeah.
Like,
And but no, like in one of the episodes of Tales from the Crypt, he actually plays the Death character, and he's talking to the Crypt Keeper, and the Crypt Keeper's like getting bored of him.
Oh,
Like that. And the assassin, and he doesn't come out. He's credited in the episode itself because you actually see his name like as a Grim Reaper or Death or something. But he actually doesn't come out in the story itself. He just comes out in the intro and the outro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Is he doing the
accent
Austrian
and yeah,
or German voice?
yeah,
that accent.
yeah, the same character, like
The
from Bogus Journey.
episode, well, the episode that I always remember is the one where he plays like the executioner guy.
Yeah, it's the man who was dead.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite episodes.
And then at the end, he ends up in the chair, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that episode. But that one, he's like talking candid to the camera a lot, right?
yeah. Actually, I forgot whose idea that was. I think when they wrote the script, they were like, "Oh, you're just like," because it would have been one thing. I think even in the comic book version, he monologues to a certain extent, but here I am geeking out again. But I think at one point they were like,
I want to say, shut up.
yeah, well,
I mean, shut up, dude.
yeah, well, but Walter Hill, the director, was like, "No, you're actually gonna be like monologuing throughout this thing. You're gonna be telling the story, even like towards the end when you're dying. Like you're gonna be telling the story." But yeah, so there's my geek out for that episode.
Let's go back to Demon Knight.
Well,
Yeah.
no, like I have my own fucking geek shit that I could throw out there. Like he's gonna come back as Death in Bill and Ted Face the Music.
That's cool.
Like he's coming back as that character again.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, I don't care if he's 70 years old, like whatever. Like
He's over 100 years old.
I do not give a shit. If he wants to come back as that character, I'm like, I'm all for it.
He's gonna come all just skin.
But yeah, Demon Knight, 1995, directed by Ernest Dickerson. Like, to me, it's a great horror movie. Like, it's become like a cult classic. A lot of people love this movie. None of the people that were involved in the production of this movie ever thought that it was going to become what it became. And Shout Factory released a Blu-ray that I own, and it has a lot of cool like bonus stuff. I would recommend that. If you haven't seen Demon Knight, I would recommend it. I think if you're
Me too.
I think if you're a horror fan, you will love this movie.
And I would recommend not just the movie itself, but also the soundtrack, because it's a really good soundtrack. And sometimes I wonder, like, whatever happened to like Filter and Gravediggers?
Yeah, they're gone. They're
Like,
no longer relevant to us.
yeah, like whatever happened to them? Yeah, and
Well, Pantera, we know.
Pantera's
yeah,
kind of there.
yeah.
What was that tragedy that happened? Like, I liked Pantera back then. I remember, like Megadeth, of course. That's like,
Yeah, I think Megadeth. I think is still around, and
I like how you say grave diggers.
yeah,
I like how you say that.
It's a horrible name. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's the name of the.
No, but I'm saying, like,
Gravediggers.
I like how he doesn't say grave diggers. He says grave diggers.
No, but that's how they spell it.
I know,
AZ
but
at
it's
the end.
just cool. Like, I like it. I like grave diggers. Like,
That's-
not diggers,
yeah.
diggers.
But it's a
Big
good
difference.
song that they have. 1-800-Suicide. That's the name of the song.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, you should hear it.
We should.
It plays, like I said, it plays a little bit. You hear the music itself, but you don't hear the lyrics when Jada Pinkett, when Jada Pinkett's character is
Oh, but you
getting
no,
seduced.
no, but you remind me of Steve Harvey when you say that when he says the Kangs is here, and he's like, not the Kings, the Kangs. You remind me of that.
The
'Cause
Kangs.
you're like grave diggers.
Yeah, it's a cool name. It's a cool name.
Yeah,
I
but,
wish they did more stuff. I don't know where they're at now.
Uh,
I don't know what they're doing now.
no, but y'all please check out our channel
Yeah,
and
subscribe.
subscribe. Wormboy put we have a Facebook page. We're on Twitter.
Facebook.
Thanks to Wormboy.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Check us out on YouTube, and also like if there's any movies because sometimes we're all sitting around, we can't like pick
Think.
something to review. We can't think of anything.
And it's just, I mean, we can do more than reviews. Also, we can, just give our 2 cents on different things, different topics, like folklore, or like that new thing with the Momo thing going on.
Oh yeah.
The Momo doll, or I don't know, you know what it is. But
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
it's pretty
and
creepy.
speaking of folklore, I don't know about y'all, but I do want to review that La Llorona movie.
We should.
Yeah.
I want to review it, and I think it
Definitely.
looks fucking cool. I don't care.
When did-
Like a lot of people are like making fun of that movie. I'm like, that movie looks fucking
It
cool,
looks
man.
good. I mean, Steve Wan. James Wan is the one that's directing, right?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I thought it was him.
That would be awesome if he was, because he's
Who
one
was
of the.
directing that one?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
I don't
Let me
know.
look it
Maybe
up.
is it
I
James
thought it
Wan?
was James Wan. No, I'm
He's probably producing it.
I'm
'cause-
probably just wrong.
No, I bet he's producing it. You probably saw like produced by James Wan, because he produces a lot of good horror movies, even if he's not the director.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking forward to that movie. I just want to see how they do it.
How they do it, yeah. Because I mean, I grew up with that story, like
Well, I mean, we live in an area where,
Yeah,
where it exists.
That's-
where it can
that's-
potentially exist.
that's just part
Oh.
of. That's part of.
Not potentially to us, it exists.
Oh, like you've experienced like your
yeah,
own
I've
eyes.
seen it.
Oh, okay.
But that's just part of the folklore of where we live here in South Texas.
Yeah.
All right. April 19th, according to
Oh, it's almost.
Wikipedia.
Maybe we
Who's the
should go watch
director?
it in the theaters.
It is Michael Chavez,
Oh,
but James Wan is one of the producers.
See,
Ah,
yeah, I told you. You probably saw.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if anybody out there has like a movie or like a video game, like a horror themed video game, or like a horror anything
Any
The-
horror related topic,
that y'all would want, like
send us a comment.
that you guys would want us to review or talk about, like we're open to it. So, we're the dudes of horror. I'm Damien.
Worm Boy,
And Toots.
Go watch Demon Knight.
Yep. All right.
catch you on the flip side.